What is up, everybody? Welcome into our Pack-A-Day members Q&A. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being wonderful Pack-A-Day podcast YouTube members. Appreciate you guys a ton. If you're listening to this after the fact, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a member. We do open this up for everyone after the fact or after the video is done. So make sure to check out those memberships if you haven't already, and then you can join live and ask all of your wonderful questions. But regardless, thank you so much for enjoying Pack-A-Day. And again, for those of you who are members, really appreciate you guys a ton as well. Looking forward to jumping into all of your incredible questions. Should have an hour or maybe just a little bit under. I do have a radio call coming up at 2 p.m. Central Time, so I might just bail out just a couple minutes early, but we'll try to get to as many questions as I can. Starting with Matt Walter, who was up at 2:21 in the morning, at least 2:21 my time. He said, "We know how the play calling went at the end of the game, but I was internally begging for Matt to call a double move to the pylon. These Dallas TBs were jumping everything short, especially late." He actually did. Matt. So there was the wide receiver screen to Golden that Diggs jumped. Diggs jumped that one, and then he comes back on the next play and does like a pump and go on the other side. It's a pump, and then he's waiting for the receiver to open up. They covered it, and then he had to check it down to Emmanuel Wilson on that play. He talked about that in his post-game press conference as well, or either that or, yeah, he didn't do his one today yet. So, yeah, he did talk about that, but he was trying to get a double move on that play, hoping they were going to jump it again, try to get them to bite. Didn't work, and tip your cap to Dallas on that one. But he did try it late in the game. In fact, the second to last play of the game, third to last play of the game, whatever it was, second to last, I think, was in fact a double move on that play. Even so, I really hope we do some soul searching over the bye. Frustrating to see the same things not change. However, I believe in this team to fix it. Go Pack, go, and have a good time off, Andy. Appreciate that, Matt. I do think they will get it fixed as well. They are going to need to do a little bit. I don't know if soul searching, but they're going to have to find some solutions to problems. And I think offensive line, not quite what you want it to be. The defensive line depth, if Wyatt's out for any period of time, is certainly concerning. And then I just think the special teams has been really abysmal in some key moments without needing to dig into it too far. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So I do think they're going to have to clean some of those things up. I still think this is a really, really good football team, but saying it and doing it are two totally different things. They're going to have to go out and prove it. I do think their schedule is rather favorable over these next 4 weeks, but doesn't mean much of anything. Thought it was favorable against Dallas and Cleveland too, and they didn't win either of those games. So they need to play better football, and we'll see if they can go out and do that or not. I was surprised the cornerbacks played 7 yards off the line, given Dallas wanting to get the ball out of Dak's hands quickly. After repeated completions, why not let Nixon and Hobbs beat them up at the line? Interestingly enough, they did switch things up in this game. There was some man, there was some zone, there was some press, there was some off coverage. Some of the completions that you saw were actually defensive backs up at the line of scrimmage. I actually thought Hobbs, and then there was one with Nixon too, where they were pressing and it did not go well at all. In fact, if you remember, there was that play they showed on the replay where I think he went far right side. I think it was to Pickens on that play and it was incomplete. I think it was Turpin on the other side that completely won off his line. And he's like, I'm open down on the left side. If I remember correctly, I think that was Hobbs on that side of the field, and he went to press and completely whiffed, and he beat him, and he was wide open on that left-hand side. When they pressed it, it didn't actually go very well. There was another one where I think it was maybe Pickens got just a really free release off the line of scrimmage, I think beat Nixon inside and just an easy completion. So they did mix it up as well. And quite frankly, some of the stuff that they did when they went press and when they went, up towards the line of scrimmage didn't work very well in this game. I thought really three of the players that just needed to be a lot better in order for Green Bay to have better success in this one, not allow 40 points. Nate Hobbs, Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon. I know Nixon had some good plays as well. He was definitely the best of the three, but he had some plays he'd like to have back also. Those are three players that need to play better in order to not allow a situation like that, whether it is in off coverage, press coverage. They did try a bit of everything. Quite frankly, none of it really worked all that great, simply because I didn't think the corners had their best day at the office. Randy, thank you for the question. Feel like Matt LaFleur's gut is off since Love came back last year. Like he doesn't have a good read on when to be aggressive, when to be conservative, when to follow the analytics, when to follow his heart. I think part of it, Randy, is these are things that you cannot just sort of feel out in real time. You have to have a conviction on what type of team you want to be. Do you want to be a conservative team? Do you want to be an aggressive team? Do you want to be a team that just constantly trusts the analytics? Like what is your vision in those situations? Like a really good poker player is going to, long-term one is going to analyze exactly what you're supposed to do based on how much money's in the pot, how much, what percentage you have of winning the hand, implied probability, implied odds, things like that. All of those things are going to go into that equation and help you make an educated decision so that in the long run, you get those right more often than not. I think Matt needs to have a little bit of a sort of come to Jesus moment of, it can't just be of like, oh, what my gut feels like in the moment. You have to have a plan for those situations. And you can go into each game feeling differently. You can go into a game being like, we're going to be ultra aggressive today. Or you know what? Today we're putting this game in the hands of the defense. We're going to be more conservative. But you can't have situations where you decide to be conservative and not go for it on 4th and 2 and decide to punt. And then before half, in a very disadvantageous situation, decide to be ultra aggressive and try to throw the ball well down the field when it's just not smart to do it in that situation. And then later in the game, be really cautious and be like, we're going to drain as much clock off of this as possible. You just have to decide who you're going to be and what that identity is. And until you decide that, you're leaving things up to feel and emotion. And that's usually not where you want to be. You want to be calculated about that stuff. It hasn't felt super calculated. It's felt very emotional. And usually when you let those emotions kind of guide you through the course of a game, that's where mistakes can happen. And I just think Matt needs to be better with that decision-making and just having a vision for what he wants this team to be and how he wants them to play. The Lloyd Wilson conversation gets interesting after that Cowboys game. Wilson looked like a top 20 back in that game. He looked fantastic. And I think the thing for Wilson is, when given opportunities, he's looked good, right? And I think we're also getting to the point now where he is pass protecting better. He is catching the ball out of the backfield better. And he's always been a really good runner. I think Lloyd is going to have to earn his spot, meaning he'll have a 53 spot. I don't have major concern about that. But Jacobs is your main back. Wilson's playing well. Brooks is your third down back. Lloyd's not a great pass protector. He's going to have to be kind of that change of pace guy. I still think there's a place for Lloyd, but I'm with you in the fact that I want to see a little bit more Emmanuel Wilson at this point coming off of that game. And I think he's earned it. I think he deserves it. I think he's a really good back. I was really excited with what we saw, and hopefully that's a harbinger of things to come for Emmanuel Wilson, because he's always had the talent and it's just kind of putting it all together. It looks like he's closer to becoming that complete back, which is really exciting for him. Speaking of Wilson, that man needs more carries. Jacobs, we need to save his legs for later in the year. I think they just need to get the run game going in general, but I think Wilson absolutely has the ability to be a piece of that puzzle. And then for Marshawn Lloyd too, hopefully he can be that change of pace back. I still like Chris Brooks, but it's a good problem to have. But the biggest thing is get that run blocking better so that all of those guys can eat within the run offense, and you're giving yourself more opportunities and actually wanting to run the ball. Whereas right now it feels like a chore at times just because the blocking hasn't been exactly what you want it to be up front. I don't think that the offense will ever be as bad as week 3, and the defense won't be as bad as week 4 this season. Definitely more annoyed than I am concerned. Go Pack Go. I think that's true, Richard. But I think in a way, I talked about this with Paul Brettel. That video is out there for you members already. It's going to be this Saturday for everyone else, but it's out there already for you guys. But this week 4, or these first 4 weeks, I should say, is kind of like a beautiful snapshot of kind of like what you see in a 4-game stretch of playoff games. If you want to win, unless you have the bye in week 1, you got to go and win in the wild card, the divisional, and then the championship game, and then the Super Bowl as well. You need to run off 4 in a row, right? And to be fair, those games are usually going to be tougher than Dallas and Cleveland. Those are not exactly top-tier teams. But Detroit, top-tier team. Washington with Jaden Daniels, we know is much better than they've been without him. But those are 2 really good football teams. Those are teams like you'll see in the playoffs. And then, not that Dallas and Cleveland are the best of the best or anything like that, but you're going to see a top flight offense like Dallas. Dallas is the number 1 offense in the league. You're going to see really great defenses like Cleveland. And we saw that in week 3. And so I think it's how you respond to those situations. I think the good news is we see that this offense can put up points, and we see that the defense most weeks can limit you in a significant way. But when they went out and played the best offense, they gave up 40 points. And when they went up and played a really good defense, they couldn't get more than 10. I think that's a great litmus test of like what it's going to be like in the playoffs. But overall, they've got to be more consistent so that offense is showing up game in and game out. The defense is showing up game in and game out. And it's not you're riding the wave of like, well, we're playing a good defense, so our offense isn't going to play well. No, you need to find a way to play better even against the best defenses. And you need to play better on defense even against the best offenses. If you can't do that, then you're eventually going to get eliminated by somebody in the playoffs because everyone's going to have their go-to thing, right? No matter who you play in the playoffs, they're going to have either a good offense or a good defense or an epic one of each or both. You know, you're going to have to go against some unbelievable teams. So can you match up with the best of the best? I think that's what they're going to have to get better at. And again, just being more consistent through the remainder of the season. What are your thoughts on everyone's take on Matt LaFleur? He's a chaperone. I need to know the true Andy thoughts on Matt LaFleur. Do you trust him? Yeah, I think, you know, again, we're all such prisoners of the moment. They're going to probably go 4-0 in their next 4, maybe 3-1 in their next 4. And I think all of a sudden it's going to be everyone's on top of the world again. And Love should be the MVP and Matt should be in the coach of the year conversation and yada, yada, yada. And everything is probably going to be fine. That's my honest feel on it. And I think anytime you're basing anything off of a 1 week sample size, or even in this case, a 2 week sample size, I just think you make emotional thoughts. And it's just, this is not the way that you operate an NFL team. He's not anywhere near towards being fired. He should not be fired. He's still one of the top coaches in the NFL, but there are things he absolutely needs to do better. We talked about some of it already with game management and understanding what he wants the identity to this team to be. I think he needs to trust his players in those situations, not be worried about what could go wrong, and instead give them the autonomy. And listen, I think part of the evolution for some of these players is you have to give them the ability to make the mistakes and see if they learn them, if they can go out and play without making the mistakes. You can't put the bumpers up in the bowling alley forever. At some point, you got to let them go. You can't, wrap them in bubble wrap. You just got to let them play and see if Jordan's capable of leading you down the field on a game-winning touchdown drive rather than being worried about, well, what if we have to get a field goal and then they get the ball back? No, let your players go out and play. So I think there's things that Matt needs to do better. I think any talk of firing that he's not the guy, I think it's just stupid, raw emotion after 2 tough games. Now, if these 2 games carry over, and this is what we see in the next 4 weeks, the next quarter of the season, we see the same mistakes and the same problems and the same trajectory, and they're not living up to expectations, Matt himself would be the first probably to tell you, like, he knows the expectations that are on this season. And it goes much further than just the regular season. It goes into the playoffs. They need playoff wins, and they need them now. That's the expectation. Goody said it immediately in the offseason, saying it's time to start winning championships. Everyone in that building knows what the expectations are. Let's let this play out. Like, you guys know, nothing's changing right now. They're not even going to fire Rich Bisaccia, much less Matt LaFleur. And I don't also think like there's a good like decision here. Like, so if you want Matt gone, you clearly want Rich Bisaccia gone, right? All right. So what are we going to do? We're going to fire Rich Bisaccia, fire Matt LaFleur. We're going to put Jeff Hafley in charge of the team. Okay. We're going Derek Ansley as your defensive coordinator. Jeff's got a lot on his plate now. He probably still manages the defense, but you're giving him head coaching responsibilities midseason. That is a lot to take in. There's a lot to take in. I would assume that the defense is probably going to suffer some because Jeff Hafley now has a lot more on his plate. Is your assistant special teams coach going to become your new special teams coordinator? Is Adam Stenovich taking over the offense? I want anyone to look me in the eye and tell me how any of that is better right here and right now. And especially, like, are you really making these decisions after going 2-0 against 2 really good teams? Having a letdown against Cleveland, no question about it, specifically offensively. And then, Matt's offense put up 40 points in that game. And I thought Dak Prescott just had an amazing game. I didn't even think the defense, as I went back and watched it, played that poorly. And he didn't even lose that game. You've lost 1 game over your first 4 seasons and you're going to fire everybody? It's beyond stupid. It is beyond stupid. So this is the season that you're going to get with this team, these coaches. You maybe make an addition some point, maybe a defensive tackle, maybe another offensive lineman, maybe something at the trade deadline, right? There's probably something that you change, but this is your 2025 Packers team. Enjoy this team for what it is and see if they can learn from the mistakes that they've had so far. The first quarter of the season, guys, is barely relevant in the scheme of things. This will be a playoff team unless something catastrophic happens. If it's not, you're all probably that, want Matt LaFleur fired are probably going to get your wish anyway. If it's not a playoff team, barring some like major injuries, right? Even then, I think it's it'll be debatable whether they would actually let him go even in that scenario. But if it's not, then we can have that conversation. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to have to figure out what makes them tick and what makes them best through the course of this season. And then this team is not going to be judged off of Packers, Browns, or tying the Cowboys. This team will be judged on the wild card, divisional, conference championship, Super Bowl, etc. That's what Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, Jordan Love, etc. will be judged on in the long term. This is just all preamble at this point. There's no need to jump to any conclusions or make any rash decisions. And it's the same thing of like all of a sudden if they go 4-0 over these next 4 games, which is very possible based on their opponents, they go 4-0 in those 4 games, like everyone's going to be like, yeah, Matt LaFleur should probably be in the coach of the year conversation. Like I will say it every single time. Do not ride the wave. We will have plenty of time to talk in the offseason if this team fell far below expectations, met expectations, or exceeded expectations. And mistakes that happen in weeks 3 and 4 are often not the mistakes that you see happening in week 16, 17, wildcard division, etc. So let's see how it plays out. And again, even if everyone's united in their stance of they're not going to. So just sit back, see how this team improves or doesn't. And if things go catastrophically wrong, they don't make the playoffs, and this is a team that comes well below expectations, all right, go and gather your pitchforks and, do what you need to do. But right now, it's a really silly conversation that is going to stupidly happen from now until the end of time, that every other franchise is happening, right now too, that's not 4-0. It's like, oh, everything's wrong, everything needs to go, etc. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I get that like fine's not good enough. I know that we all want super, right? We all want amazing. We all want stellar. We all want Super Bowl. But these things take time to get right. It takes, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet along the way. If these lessons aren't learned, and if the mistakes are never corrected, and we get to playoff time, and what ultimately dooms Green Bay in week 1 of the playoffs, wildcard, etc., is a brutal special teams and an offensive line that's maybe not protecting, and some really poor decisions, like they're up by 7 and they've whatever, and they make a stupid decision, whether it's too aggressive or too passive or whatever, it's bad coaching. All right, let's have that conversation. But right now, this is just the very baby steps of this season, and there's so much more to go, and that can go either way. It could get way better, it could get way worse. And if it gets way worse, then that conversation becomes a lot more relevant. But right now, it's so early that anything to jump to any conclusion is just so far beyond ridiculous. It is what it is. And it's going to happen forever. It's like, it's the immediate low-hanging fruit. Fire this. It doesn't work that way. And imagine if every single time that you wanted somebody, if the new guy comes in, if Halfley comes in and he starts, 1-3, are you going to fire him mid-season? Are you going to go on to another guy? If next year it starts out and Halfley's 2-2, are you going to fire Halfley then? You have to let this stuff play out. Matt's in charge. Matt's the guy. He deserves that. He's been really good regular season, needs to win more playoff games. We'll see if he can do that this year. And again, if things go catastrophically wrong, we'll have that conversation. I haven't rewatched the game yet, but I'm pretty sure McManus made 2 tackles to save from a touchdown. I know he made 1. I'd have to go back and watch it again as well to look at that specifically, but he was definitely involved in 1 tackle on the day for sure. I've been the biggest Romeo Doubs fan and been saying don't trade and make sure he's here to stay. And I think the past game showed how important he really is to this team. When we need to play, he's the man almost every time. And if you give me a choice on 3rd down or 4th down on who I want the ball going to, it's Romeo every time. And I don't have that feeling with any other receiver besides now Golden. Yeah, so I have said the same thing. I thought the conversation of trading Doubs was really short-sighted. And yes, he may leave in free agency next year. We'll see what that amounts to. But he is super valuable to this team right now. And I think you're going to need him in a major way through the remainder of the season. Him and Jordan definitely have a chemistry. He's playing really good football. I think in honesty, you should probably look to get him a little bit more involved in the offense at the moment. So yeah, not only should he have never gone anywhere, he should probably get more involved. And then it becomes a very interesting conversation with what you want to do with Romeo from a contract standpoint going into this offseason. That will be very interesting. I still think he's gone, but he's certainly working his way into the conversation of like, hey, do you just need to sign this guy almost no matter what? Hopefully he can continue it, show the level of consistency, but he's playing good football. Sign. All right. I don't know. Oh, you just corrected. Got it. Most hated Chicagoan. Happy Tuesday, Andy. Enjoy your time in Vegas. I'll be there the last week of October and looking forward to that. Had a great time in Dallas and interacting with Packers fans. Appreciate all your work. Appreciate that, my friend. Looking forward to it. Just a few days of relaxing and getting into trouble and probably losing lots of money. So looking forward to it a ton. And we'll get back on Sunday. And then from there, just kind of catch up on some things. And then next week will be a catch-up week. But I promise you we'll do happy hour tomorrow instead of Friday. And all your normal videos will still be there. All your favorite audio podcasts will still be there. So you won't miss anything. It'll just be kind of, they'll be uploaded a little bit in advance this week. Matt LaFleur in national media made my day. Matt LaFleur, national media made my day. A little pressure doesn't hurt. He'll either earn that extension or he won't. Still think he's a top 10 coach. Seems like a lot of the fan base are questioning it. I do. I think he'll bounce back, and I think everyone's going to be talking about Matt LaFleur, the good side of Matt LaFleur here in the near future. I don't have any major concerns at the moment. There are red flags. There's things on the radar. I'm absolutely willing to admit that. I still think he's a really good coach, and I just think ask around the NFL and how many fan bases are happy with their coaching situation right now. And I bet Green Bay's still in the upper 25%, somewhere in there of fan bases with their coach or whatever. I don't know, maybe not right now coming off the loss, but in general, they're in a really good spot. Finding good coaches is really difficult to do. And yeah, it's a thankless position. And, unless you're winning every game, there's always disappointment. There's always haters, etc. I think Matt's going to be totally fine. I really, really do. So you think the weird silent snap count thing is something Elgton wanted to do? I have never seen such a thing. Surely Steno and Butkus wouldn't have wanted to put that in. You think it will change? I think it has to change. And I would just go listen to the episode with Mike Wall yesterday, and he kind of explains it in great detail, but they got to fix it. I mean, some of these stadiums are going to play in. When they go to Minnesota, that's going to be an even more difficult position to play in. You've got to be ready. If playoff football, you're on the road, those stadiums are going to be insane. And you can't just let the other team get free releases and, know exactly when, you be reacting at the same time. You got to get any advantage that you can. And right now, Green Bay is at a disadvantage on the road. They've got to figure out a way to be much better with their silent count. How much of special teams problems are Rich's fault and how much are not getting the personnel and practice time he wants? Either way, Matt LaFleur needs to step in and make sure it's fixed. If starters need to play teams, so be it. A loss and a tie is beyond terrible. We'll see another 21 playoff loss if it doesn't get fixed. Yeah, John, I mostly agree with you. I don't know the answer as to whether or not this is a LaFleur thing or a Bisaccia thing, but as Matt would be the first to tell you, it all falls under his umbrella, right? So if the special teams is bad, that's on Matt too. And if that means more special teams time in practice, if that means more starters playing teams, whatever that means, it is all hands on deck right now, because it has been far too catastrophic over the last couple of weeks for, anything to be left, any stone left unturned with it. You've got to be at your best, and whatever it takes to do that, you've got to do it. And they probably need a little bit more practice time, probably need some personnel changes, and Rich and company just have to be better as well, getting everyone prepared. So yeah, it in totality needs to be a whole hell of a lot better. And that's on both Rich and Matt at this point. I hate to say it, but watching the last two games, Hobbs is getting beat a lot, or he is committing penalties. And Banks, is he still on the team? Guy played like one game in that game. Wasn't any good. I wasn't a fan of the signings. And I said multiple times that the best doesn't include Banks. Best five doesn't include Banks. My opinion, Jenkins should be playing left guard. Why wouldn't you just sign or draft a center if that's what you needed? All right. So a couple things here, COVID. So I think this is also a little bit of a gut reaction on the first few weeks. As far as Hobbs goes, I will say there was actually some good stuff on tape this week too. Far too much bad stuff. I'm not saying there wasn't. he needs to get better and be more consistent. I do think some of the injuries and getting, put in kind of after missing a lot of camp and thrown pretty much right into the fire. I'm interested to see how he comes off of the bye week. I think Hobbs will be fine. I don't think he's going to be like this, oh my God, he's unbelievable. I think this will probably be one of Hobbs' worst games of the season. And I don't think it's going to be something where you're just like, oh my God, this contract is brutal. I think he's honestly going to be fine. I really do. Not great, maybe not even good, but I don't think it's going to be this catastrophic contract. Banks, I'm willing to give Banks a little bit of accident forgiveness right now, because again, on your point, he has been hurt. Like, that's not his fault. That's not the Packers' fault. That stuff just happens, guys. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And I know he's had some injuries in his past, including last year. These are not related injuries. It's just happenstance. So I want to see what he looks like, hopefully fully healthy. I think he's also going to be fine. I think that one's going to end up being an overpay no matter what. It felt like an overpay from day one, but I do think he will be a solid, fine number 4, number 5 offensive lineman. And again, not something that you're like, you can't play the guy. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I also think the one game that he did play wasn't anywhere near as bad as people think it was. It was maybe slightly below average. The entire line has been well below average for the most part through the entirety of this year. He was just kind of blending in with everyone else, if I'm being honest. So I'm willing to give both of those a little bit more time. It is 4 weeks in to 4-year contracts with both of those guys. Let's hit the pause button a little bit. We'll have plenty of time to judge them based on their full body of work eventually. But it's certainly been a little bit disappointing based on expectations. I do think injuries have played a major part in both of them. As far as the center conversation goes, I think they probably looked at it and said, we feel like there's a better free agent guard out there than there is a free agent center. So let's get Aaron Banks in, and we have somebody that can play center already in Elgton Jenkins. I was a huge fan of the move, and maybe that just ends up being wrong. But I thought for Elgton, it takes a little bit off of his plate from a demand standpoint. And, he gets to be a lot more of the guy that's double teaming. He gets a lot more autonomy at the line of scrimmage. You get a veteran in that spot. I thought this was a match made in heaven. And it's not like he hasn't been a center. He was a center full-time in college and has filled in it in that spot in the NFL on numerous times in the past. I don't think this Elgton thing right now that's going on, by the way, has anything to do with guard center. Anything at all. He's just playing like crap. And it's not good enough. And he was the first to say it last week. I think if he were at guard right now, you'd be seeing the exact same level of play that's been subpar so far. I don't think the center thing is in. And in fact, again, if anything, I think it kind of, at times makes it easier at center because, again, you're in a lot of those double team situations. I just need to see a better version of Elgton Jenkins. And I think the idea in principle was a fair, fine, good idea. Hasn't worked out so far. That offensive line has to get adjusted overall. It's not just one player. It's not just one thing. The silent count needs to be better. The run blocking needs to be better. The technique needs to be better. And they need to find a cohesive, consistent line that can work together. And this goes back to Rasheed Walker was, basically splitting time at times with Jordan Morgan. Sean Ryan was in and out. He started in a rotation with Morgan. Morgan hasn't been great. It's been a bit of a mess. I think it's on Adam Stenovich and Luke Butkus to get that group playing better and to just play more consistent football. And that starts with their best players. I mean, guys in contract years like Sean Ryan and Rasheed Walker need to be playing better. Guys like Elgton Jenkins, who's basically in a pseudo contract year and is getting paid a good chunk of money to be a really good offensive lineman, needs to be better. So to me, the onus is on the players a little bit there. The coaches, the offensive line coaches, they got to get that thing working a little bit more consistent. I still think it can be fine. I still think it's a little bit early for Banks and Hobbs, who I think are both good players, but they need to play better than they have so far. What point do we have to really consider a Romeo contract extension? He is Jordan's guy, and I don't see if he keeps this up, letting him walk. Yeah, it's like we talked about just a little bit ago. It's going to be a very interesting conversation with Rome. If I'm betting today, I still think he's gone. I think they'll probably lean on Watson, Reed, Golden, Wicks, and Savion Williams next year as year 5, and they probably draft another receiver next year. That's a lot of resources to continue to put into wide receiver. But it's a really interesting conversation. And if he continues to play like he did this past week, week over week, and we see that consistency, then there's a good chance that they're going to have to make an offer and try to really get him back in Green Bay in any way, shape, or form possible. Can't stand the no holding calls, and Parsons let the man play his game and make the players actually defend him. I do think there were opportunities on a few different plays to call some pretty blatant, obvious holding calls. It ended like, so you're probably only going to call so many holding calls on a team. I was kind of struck as I rewatched the game of Dallas did get called for a few holding penalties in this game, and it just came kind of at inopportune times. I think there was one of them where a Keyshawn Nixon face mask negated both of them. It was offsetting penalties. I think there was another one where Green Bay declined because they, had a stop on the play anyway. So it's like when they did get the holding calls, it wasn't at the opportune times. And then again, as you're a ref, you're trying not to, call like 30 holding calls in a game. But listen, if they're going to continue to hold, there was one play, I think it was on the big play down to Pickens, where not only did Micah get held on the play, but they also had not only an illegal hands to the face, but the guy yanked Carl Brooks's face mask on the play. So he's coming down and it's hands to the face, and then he rips it and banks his head goes down too. Like it's right there, and it's a big play to Pickens, and there's an obvious hold, and there's a face mask, and it's just like, can we get something here, guys? The officiating, as you all know, was not great in this one. Guess my Romeo season yards and touchdowns weren't such a hot take. I like Romeo, and I've been saying we need to keep him around. But if it comes to Quay or Romeo, the way Quay is playing, keep him. Yeah, Quay needs an extension, and then Romeo definitely in that conversation if he continues it up, playing the way that he's been playing right now too. Do you feel like Hobbs is better in the slot? Do we need to just let him share time with Bullard there and let CV handle the outside? I would say yes, except CV looked really bad on the outside in this game too. Again, tip your cap to Dak and George Pickens a little bit in this game. I thought those guys were really, really good. CV needs to play better than he played last week. Hobbs needs to play better than he did this past week. I put this on the players a little bit right now. Like they need to go out and play a better brand of football. I think we'll see Hobbs in the slot in times and obvious passing downs. I think we'll see Hobbs on the outside. But right now, just technique-wise and just a little bit more consistency, those two need to play better. But I think Hobbs will be fine on the outside. And I'll just say this too. I know he didn't play a ton, but like early in training camp, Hobbs looked awesome, both at outside and on the inside. I do think he's a good player. I think this was a bad game. Let's see if this is a trend or if it's a one-off. If it's a trend, all right, we've got a problem. We've got to talk about it. I think this is going to be a one-off. I think he's going to be totally fine. Like I said, there was even some good stuff in this game. We'll see if he can get it fixed during the bye week, be a little bit more healthy coming off the bye, work on his technique a little bit in practice, and get better as the rest of the season goes along. Yeah, I don't think Monk is going to start and Jenkins move back to guard. I'd be pretty shocked if that ended up being the case. Remember, Monk was struggling too. I don't think that's the answer that you're looking for. I just think as Jenkins gets more time, hopefully plays better, hopefully we see some improvement there. But to me, this comes down to Jenkins. It's not the position. He just needs to play a better brand of football than he's played so far. Not overly concerned about the defense. You and me both, Beast Bumblebee. I'm assuming it was just an off game and Dallas gets paid too, but why aren't they getting any turnovers? That does concern me a little. Yeah, Paul and I had a great conversation about this. If you watch, they are punching at the ball. They're going for it. They're in good positions defensively. There have been multiple times where they've come close to like strip sacks and things like that. I honestly, Beast, I think it's a matter of time. I think these turnovers are going to start coming in bunches. I really, really do. They're way too talented of a defense. They're putting themselves in good positions. They're swiping at the ball. They're punching at the ball. I think this is going to be something that when we see it, it's going to hit hard and it's going to be amazing. We're going to see all these turnovers happen. It's just the well's been a little bit dry for the first 4 weeks. Hopefully that turns around sooner rather than later. Actually, I don't even say it. I want it to turn around in December, January, February. That's when I need it to turn around. In the meantime, they can hang, but in the right games, getting the right turnovers, that would be more beneficial than certainly getting them right now. When is coach going to let Jordan take the last drive by the helm and let him call the plays? And why not like what Aaron would have done? Coach screwed us in the Bucks game too with that crap calling. Assuming you mean the Tampa Bay Bucks game. I don't think he needs to give Jordan full autonomy, meaning I don't think you need to give Jordan being like, hey, go out there and call plays at the line and go no huddle and just here you go. The full offense is yours. I don't think that needs to be the case. Matt's doing still a very good job of getting this offense in advantageous looks. But what I do think he needs to do is not play afraid and not be worried Jordan's going to make a mistake. Let him go out, let him play, and let him make those decisions out there on the field of what's going to put the Packers in a position to succeed, when he needs to be aggressive, when he needs to throw the ball away, etc. But Jordan was dealing in that game, and he needs to put him in a position where he can go out and win the game for you, rather than being worried that there's going to be, another possession for the defense or whatever the case may be. So for me, I think he just has to have more faith that Jordan can go out there and lead the team to victory, and just let him go. But I don't think that needs to be full control of the offense or anything like that. I think Matt's still getting them in good looks, calling good plays, but just get them in there quick, and don't play afraid in that situation. I really like to see the team sign Mercedes Lewis. He can help out the rough offensive line, play good teams, provide leadership that the team clearly needs. Yeah, he's not a tight end, right? So he's basically just an extra offensive lineman at this point. He does not play teams either, so that's not something he's going to add. I mean, he would be somebody that you could put on the field goal protection team, I guess. So there's something there, but he doesn't give you anything as a receiver. And quite frankly, if you're going to put him in on offense, you're probably just better at this point going with a sixth offensive lineman. Like, just put Anthony Belton, once he's healthy, in as that sixth offensive tackle, and just let him be an extra blocker. So I don't think Mercedes is needed. He's very long in the tooth at this point. I love Mercedes, don't get me wrong. If there was maybe a couple injuries to tight ends and there was nothing out there and you wanted to bring him in, sure. But I don't think it actually changes this team much at all at the moment. Feel like everyone loved the Bisaccia hire. When it happened, it really felt like he was the perfect guy. It feels like our special teams is just cursed. How do they fix it? You got me, Beast. Not a believer in curses, but when it comes to the Packers special teams, I'm pretty damn close. I'll just put it that way. Yeah, Musgrave hasn't been good. It just doesn't seem to click. It's just not there. It's unfortunate. My hot take on Musgrave is Fitzpatrick, I think, needs to be the full-time number 2 tight end. So I would probably lean a little bit more into that, of going Kraft, Fitzpatrick, and then Musgrave probably being the number 3. And then you get into an issue with Musgrave as your number 3 of, he gives you nothing on teams. He's not a good blocker. He's not giving you much as a receiving threat. So it's like, all right, well, is he the 4? Is Ben Sims then the 3? I don't think it gets to that point, but need more out of him for sure. And it's been really disappointing. I would say, we talk about busts like all the times, players not playing well. I don't know. He's kind of gotten a pass so far. As a second round pick, it's been pretty disappointing to see what he's putting on the field. And then just mental mistakes like on the field goal. We can blame Rich Bisaccia all you want. Like, that's football 101. Like, you're blocking, and there's an inside threat and an outside threat. And which one is the more important one? The inside threat. Like, you don't even need to know anything about special teams to understand that. Like, that's if you're blocking at tight end and there's an inside threat and an outside threat, which one are you taking? The one that's the closest to the quarterback, right? You're taking the inside threat. Same thing on teams. Like, that's an inexcusable mistake from Musgrave. I wouldn't expect him to be out there on field goal protection much, if at all, anymore. And it's been a very disappointing in the last couple of years. I thought his rookie year was mostly fine. The last couple of years have been very disappointing for Musgrave. Jordan and coach need to have a sit down with each other and talk about stuff like that. I don't think coach trusts Jordan. The defense and coaching are to blame for that last loss. I don't think it's entirely that he doesn't trust Jordan. I mean, you're calling a lot of deep shots and aggressive plays down the field for Jordan. You're definitely putting him in positions where you're being aggressive and you're trusting him. So I do think he trusts Jordan. I don't think it was a Jordan thing. I think it was a bad mindset to be so worried about what if Dallas gets the ball back. Again, in theory, what you wanted, in fact, I'll even put this a different way. I think it was just mismanaged, meaning you can still be aggressive and bring the clock down to about a minute left, where, it was like they got it down eventually to like the 15-yard line or something with around a minute left. They just needed to have a little bit more urgency to get to not let as much clock run off up until that point, where now you really do have 3 shots at the end zone, and you could still pick up a first down and take more shots if you needed it. And you have your timeout left, and just manage it better, where you can still be super aggressive with Jordan and let him go out and try to win that game, which I think he would have done, but make it so that, hey, just in case, like we're kicking the field goal and we're tying it as a very worst case scenario. Like that's not the dumbest thing in the world. That's overall pretty smart. I think in hindsight, thinking about it more, it's not the wrong idea. It was extremely poorly executed, like to the worst possible extent. I mean, the only thing worse would be one more second off the clock, right? So it was just a really, really bad series of events that led up to that, poorly managed by Matt. And I don't hate the philosophy, don't hate the idea of like, no matter what, we're not giving Dallas another shot at this. It's touchdown or bust. I just think they managed it extremely poorly to get to that point. Why in the world did the Packers keep doing silent count the way that they do? If we've seen the flaws, then so is Matt. Is he just stubborn? I don't get it. I don't know how to answer that, Beast. I don't know why they're doing it the way that they're doing it. If I was at Matt today, I would probably ask about it. Unfortunately, I've got so much stuff to get done prior to leaving for Vegas this week. I wanted the ability to get there, but I don't know. I don't know why. They got to get it fixed though. Would there be any trade value for Lloyd? Sure. Yes. The answer is yes. But you're getting pennies on the dollar. And why are you not giving him the chance to succeed in Green Bay first and just being like, yep, let's trade him? That makes no sense. So yeah, you'd probably get a 7th round pick for him if you wanted. Why are you spending a 3rd round pick and then having him be injured for a little bit and then turning him around for a 7th before you can even see what he can do on the field? So give him the opportunity to succeed first before you do anything like that. And never sell low, never trade for pennies on the dollar. He's going to be a good player for Green Bay as long as he can stay healthy. Hopefully his healthy run is upon us. The special teams issues, we talked about that one. Seems like teams are trying hard to shut down our run game early. Should Matt still be hard set on a run first team, or should we be taking more shots down the field early to lighten up the box? I mean, we saw a shot pretty early in this past game, right? The Golden Wicks double play that they're down there. I think Matt has a really good pulse of taking what the defense is giving to him. He was really great against zone defense this week. And I thought he ran the ball at opportune times. Early in the game, it was tough sledding, right? But they stuck with it. They got some much more advantageous looks later in the game. They ran the ball They ran the ball better as the game went on. So I think part of it is like, you do still have to run the football. You have to keep teams honest. And I know like the correlation between running the ball and play action isn't always there. I still think it helps. And I just think in order for you to get some of those good runs later, sometimes you have to have a couple bad runs early in the game. You have to kind of soften up a defense a little bit. I do believe in that. So I think he does a really good job of taking more often than not what the defense is giving him while still mixing in some runs. I just think the blocking needs to be better. And I still think regardless of stacked box or not stacked box, the blocking just gets a little bit better. I still think you're going to see some of those runs go for 3-4 yards and be advantageous for Green Bay. How do you get the crown next to your name as I get one? I don't know. That's probably a better question for chat. I'm in StreamYard, so I don't get to see how some of this stuff looks, but seems like a cool thing. I think it shows the first 3 people went, oh, that's cool. I did not know that. If someone leaves, it goes down the list, I think. Interesting. Did not know that. 2-1-1 was not on my bingo card going into the bye. I certainly never expect a tie. If you would have said like 2-1-1 with wins against Dallas and Cleveland, like a loss to Detroit and like a tie to Washington, I'd have been like, yeah, that probably feels about right. I definitely would not have put it in this order where you beat Washington and Detroit, lose to Cleveland and tie to Dallas. Like all of those are out of order. Like the 2 games you would have expected to win the most were Dallas and Cleveland. The game that you would have expected to lose the least was Cleveland. The game that you probably wouldn't have expected a tie was Dallas. Like just completely out of whack. Completely out of whack. Is Emmanuel White's an exclusive rights free agent after this year, a true free agent? I believe he's restricted, but I'll look it up right now. I'm almost positive he's restricted. Yeah, restricted free agent next year. It gets said that you want to keep your defense rested and then get them off the field. Why is it that not said for the offense, or is it? You want to keep your defense rested and get them off the field. Yeah, for offense, you want to stay on the field. You want to be wearing down the defense. You know, you get to dictate a little bit more. Your offensive line likes punishing and wearing down defensive linemen, and your weapons, you get to keep rotating in and out and getting more guys opportunity with the ball, and your quarterback's certainly not wearing down. So no, you want to wear out the defense. Your offense, you want on the field as much as possible. I'm not worried, really just kind of disappointed, but still very confident in this team. I think this year more than ever, I'm really hoping we can secure the number 1 seed or at least our division. Yeah, I think, Zach, that is the perfect gamut that everyone's been running through. Not super worried at the moment. Very disappointed in the last 2 games. Still confident in the team. I think all those things are real and that there should be expectations, certainly to win the division. And while I think getting that number 1 seed is going to be difficult, I at least want number 2 and making it so that you at least get 2 home games before maybe having to go on the road for that 3rd one. But yeah, I think the things that you're experiencing are pretty much what every Packer fan has experienced over the course of this past week. Kind of disappointed in the season so far. Andy talked me off the ledge. I just think the last 2 weeks have certainly been very disappointing. So just know the last 2 games do not change the first 2 games. You still had 2 really good games that showed the potential of this team over the first 2 weeks of the season. That's a good thing. Also, the last 2 games are not the season. It's hard to be disappointed in the season when 4 games have been played. There's still a ton of time left for things to get way better, or maybe even things to get way worse or stay the same. We don't know. The regular season is a journey, and it's never going to be perfect. And a lot of times, if it is, a lot of the perfect regular season journeys turn into massively disappointing postseason journeys. The 1-loss season in 2011 is a great example of that. That was a pretty great journey through the course of that season. Only 1 loss throughout the course of the year, and they're exited in their first playoff game. So let the regular season be a journey. The test doesn't start until January. Now you got to get there, no question about it. And you want to put yourself in the best position possible come January so that you're not 3 games on the road or something like that. But that's when the test takes place. This is all just pre-work and getting you into the dance, and then you're judged on that. So we have plenty of time. Enjoy the journey right now. The ups and the downs. The downs are a part of it. They have to be. They have to be a part of it. It sucks in the moment, but you have to learn those lessons. You have to go through it. You have to get better from it. If they don't, again, it doesn't matter. But regular season journey, your time for panic, exhilaration, jumping to conclusions, that's playoff time. That's when everything is judged. So just enjoy the journey right now. It's going to have some positives. It's going to have some negatives. It's been disappointing these last 2 weeks to see some of those negatives come to fruition and have to kind of go through those, and especially some of the same mistakes we've seen in the past. This bye week will give us time to look at why blocked field goals and extra points are happening 2 weeks in a row. It's utterly crazy to me that this wasn't addressed after the Cleveland game, but now it needs to be. It was. I mean, that's almost more scary is that it was addressed and they still allowed another one. I do think, as much as maybe people don't want to hear this, they went over it. That's a really crappy play by Luke Musgrave. A really crappy play by Luke Musgrave. He shouldn't have been out there. That's on the Packers. That's on the coaching staff, Rich Bisaccia, Matt LaFleur, etc. That guy can't be out there. But that's a really crappy play by Luke Musgrave, and it just can't happen. Jeff Affley has said he wants the defense to play like they aren't afraid of making mistakes. I think Matt needs to take on that mentality more. Mistakes will happen. You need a healthy fear. Yeah, I think you have to be smart with it, but I would like to see a little bit more of that, I think, on the offensive side of the ball. But again, I'm not going to be too upset with the offense this week when they put up 40 points. Tough to be talking about listening to the defensive coordinator this week as his team gave up 40 and your offense had what should have been 41 points. I guess the defense gave up 38. But yeah, I still think in general, that's kind of the mentality that you want to be playing with. Having home field with this defense feels like a very large buff than ever before, advantage than ever before. Usually I'm okay with where we stand as long as we are in the dance, but home field with this team, tough to beat. You're not wrong, Zachary. You're not wrong. How much do you think people coming back from injury from the bye will help us out? If we get Watson, I feel our offense just explodes, and getting Tom and Banks back will help with our O-line issues. It helps. If we're being realistic, we'll get some guys back. Some guys will get hurt. And this is just a song and dance that will go on through the course of the year, right? So yeah, I'm excited to get some of the players back. Hopefully Wyatt's not out too long, but some of these injuries will ultimately still show up through the course of the season, and you just have to be able to balance it. At some point, Jaden Reed will come back, and we'll again, probably lose a different player at that point. You just got to kind of swing with it, go along with it, and hopefully the injuries aren't too catastrophic for you. Do you see them shaking up the offensive line if things don't change significantly after getting Tom and Banks back post-bye? The more I think, the more Tom at left tackle makes sense, especially long-term. I think Tom's the one you definitely do not want to change. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they try some stuff, but he's the one that's, really good at his spot. You got to figure everything else out. Don't take the one thing that's actually working and break that too. That's the last thing this team needs. So solidify right tackle with Zach Tom, but then could they try some different things? Absolutely. I think they try to fix it just with getting healthy. Walker, Banks, Jenkins, and Ryan next to Zach Tom, and just see if they can go out and play better. If not, then yes, they're going to have to try to change some things up. When do we hit the panic button? After what Denver did to the Bengals last night, what if they come to Green Bay and we lose again after the bye? Still want coach to coach, Andy. I tweeted last night, if the Packers lose to that Bengals team at home, that will be my villain origin story. If they lose to that Bengals team in Green Bay coming off of a bye, we can have a lot different conversation. They won't. Green Bay will win that game. Not concerned about it, but no panic yet. No panic yet. See what these next few weeks bring. I think these next few weeks are going to bring some good football for Green Bay. I'm excited about it, but they're going to have to go out and play consistent football. Do you think the Packers signed a defensive line because it seems like with Wyatt hurt, we are short? It does feel like they're a guy short. I talked about this with Paul Brettel today as well. I don't think it's a starter. I think you need like a number 4 guy, just somebody that can be part of that rotation. I think Brooks, Wooden, and Wyatt are really good together. I just don't think Stackhouse or Brinson are ready yet. So if you could find one more guy at the trade deadline that's just a solid rotational player, I'm talking trading a 6th or a 7th for a veteran that can just go in and give you solid snaps. Somebody like a TJ Slayton or a Jerron Reed, somebody like that. Nobody, again, you don't need Delvin, Tomlinson. You don't need a, Dexter Lawrence. You don't need a Leonard Williams. If you want to go get one, be my guest, but I'm not saying you have to do something crazy. Just a nice rotational piece for that defensive line, I think would go a long way, just giving you a little bit more depth. Last year's Super Bowl champs didn't look great heading into a week 5 bye. I'd say the Packers have looked better. It's September football. Good perspective to have, Beast. Still really wish Wall would coach the Packers offensive line. I'm sure he would light a fire to correct things. I wouldn't hate that at all. I'm sure he would be phenomenal at it. So Kenny, you're saying that we have to win every game. Otherwise we should fire all the coaches. Where's the logic in that? I don't think that's probably what he's saying, but I get it. Matt talks in 8 minutes at 2:00 here Central Time. Don't lose too much money. Can't have you selling the YouTube channel to pay back gambling debt. No, I don't gamble anything crazy. I say lose a lot of money. I say that facetiously. I'm very responsible when it comes to that stuff. I'll have fun. I'll definitely try to play some poker, probably play a little bit of blackjack and some things like that, but it's all very reasonable. My goal is, can I sit at a blackjack table for an hour or like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours? In the worst case scenario, lose $100. And in the best, even if that's the worst case, in that time, get 2 free drinks brought to me at the table. And at that point, each of those drinks are probably like $15 drinks in Vegas. So those are like $30 in drinks. I lost $70 for 2 hours at the table. And during that time, I'm going to chalk up that $70 to entertainment. Like, it's just like I bought tickets to something for 2 hours, right? So that's my view of it. And again, I don't do that a ton. And in the best case scenario, I win $100 or something, and I got my 2 free drinks, and I got 2 hours of entertainment. So I look at it more that way. I'm not going to make money. I'm only going with money that is for entertainment purposes only, and certainly not trying to win it big and anything like that. So I say it facetiously. There's a limit to what I would potentially lose, and no concerns there. Like to see Savion and Keyshawn both back deep on kickoffs. If they kick it deep, take it to the 35. Savion can lead block or return if need be. Teams are afraid of Nixon as a returner. Let's use it. I do think at some point they need to get him back involved. I understand if that's like a playoff thing or a big game thing and you let Savion do it in the meantime. They just need to have a better plan for some of those squib kicks or those ones that land at like the 1. They need to do better with those for sure. Are you having an event during the day before the November 10th game against the Eagles? I don't believe so, Donald. Nothing planned at the moment. Won 1380 on a parlay this week, so I bet 1200 on Prize Picks max multiplier, leaving me a possible over 3 million profit. All right, King Kermit, get after it. Good luck, my friend. If you win, meet me in Vegas and we'll have a drink together or something. Understand the Watson extension, but man, Doubs needs one too. I may shed tears if you're right, Andy, and he's gone after the season. Give me Doubs, Watson, Golden, Reed, Savion, and maybe Wicks is a trade candidate. Yeah, we'll see, but I don't know. We'll see what happens there. It's going to be a very interesting decision. Oh, yeah, all right, King. I gotcha. If everyone is healthy, who do you believe is the number 6 offensive lineman today? I believe it's Morgan. If you're the GM, how much are you willing to pay Doubs? I want to see how the rest of the season plays out, and I want to see how he plays, mentality, injuries, and then I want to see how Williams, Wicks, Golden, Reed, Watson are all playing. I need a full season to evaluate this entire wide receiver room. Parsons is LeBron or Shaq level great. They get officiated differently because of the impact they have overall. I imagine Dallas wishes Jerry would have extended him in 2024 to have a top tier defense. They certainly miss him a ton, and he is a premier level player. The last game is a loss in my book. I can't view it that way. The tie could help over a loss in a lot of tiebreaker scenarios. So I can't view it quite that way. It's as disappointing as a loss, but it's not quite as bad as a loss. I've been seeing all over social media that the Packers have been calling about Asante Samuel. He's still hurt. Go to Easton Butler's Twitter, and he tweeted about it. They've checked up on him. He still he still needs time. I still think he's a bad fit for this defense too. I do not think he'll be a Packer. Late as always, Andy, I apologize to you. Come on, Matthew, step your game up. No, just kidding. I appreciate you being here. I will definitely enjoy my vacation. Ties are losses. Again, I think it's a little bit better, but still doesn't feel great. Jordan is not a deep ball passer, and the team does it way too much. I totally disagree. I think he's one of the better. It may not be like the long outside ones. I think he still needs to work on those, although he did hit one this past week. But the deeper throws, middle of the field, I think he's done a really good job at. And I think they use his aggressiveness very, very well. Let's see. Just got to spam comments to take the number 1 from Bojangles. I don't think it's spamming comments that does it, Beast. Play for the win. Andy for new coach. Love you, brother. Thank you for explaining all our crazy thoughts. You're more than welcome, my friend. What's going on with Musgrave? Sounded like he was doing well during camp. Was hoping for a breakout, blocking issues, keeping him off the field. I mean, when's the last Musgrave big play? I mean, he just hasn't been able to get open, hasn't been able to block well, just hasn't brought anything to the table. Until you start bringing something more to the table, you're just kind of a guy. Right now, Musgrave's just kind of been a guy. All right. Do you have any concerns on Cooper's tackling thus far, or is it more of a byproduct of still being a young player? I think it was a little bit overblown. He had a couple missed tackles this week. It wasn't anything egregious. One of them, he just came in fast. One of the things you have to realize with Cooper is he's going to play 1,000,000 miles per hour. And when you play 1,000,000 miles per hour, a couple times you're going to overrun some things. That's just a byproduct of who he is. I'm not concerned over it. I think it's actually been a bit overblown. I think he's going to be really, really good. I have no concerns over it at the moment. What's going to have to happen? What's going to have to happen? Our O-line. I don't know. I don't know what that one is, Daryl. I keep hearing rumors about Asante Samuel. We talked about that. Nicholas, thank you for the super chat. What's up with Jenkins snapping the ball, looking behind him? Why not switch him with Ryan? It's not a Jenkins thing. That's what they're coaching it as, which is weird from a silent count standpoint. It's not going to be an issue when it's you can go to your normal count. I don't think as much, but I don't know. They've got to get that fixed for sure. Let's see. Golden took some shots on Sunday. Why don't they reinstate Nixon as a return man? I think with him being the number 1 corner, I think they're really hesitant. And I don't know that he is super stoked about doing it. They've put him back there a couple times. I also don't think he's a great punt returner. I think he's a great kick returner. I would put him on kick return first, but they need to find a punt returner. They have to find one. They've got to get better at that. What is going on with the development of our wide receivers? It seems like they're still not all on the same page with Jordan. I think that's more just early offense stuff. I think for the most part, it's been fine. But I think that'll come as the season goes along. I don't have major concerns there either. Yeah, and you don't want Golden taking some of those shots. That I totally agree with. All right, friends, I do have a radio hit, so I am going to get out of here. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys a ton. We'll talk very, very soon. Happy hour tomorrow. Another members Q&A next week. We'll see you guys very, very soon. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.